Hello, everyone. I've been on study leave for the past week, but I wanted to get back into offering a spiritual reading 2 or 3 times a week. And so this is a reading to start your week off this week as we enter into September. This is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6. Jesus looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you and revile you and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets." I must admit that I like Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, found in the Gospel of Matthew, much better than the Sermon on the Plain that you find in the Gospel of Luke. The Sermon on the Mount starts off with, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." In the Sermon on the Plain, Jesus says, "Blessed are you who are poor." I like Matthew's version because I can kind of wrap my head around "Blessed are the poor in spirit." If poor in spirit means humble and forgiving and gracious, then I can understand how folks who exhibit these qualities could be blessed, how they could be happy and fulfilled and be at peace and have the sense that they are in God's embrace. I don't think I understand, though, "Blessed are you who are poor." How can being impoverished be a blessing? I've been poor once or twice in my life, and I sure didn't feel blessed. I felt stressed and anxious and despairing. Yet Jesus says, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God." I don't know how those who are poor can possibly possess the kingdom of God. The homeless fellow I awakened on the church steps this morning didn't possess much of anything, and certainly not the kingdom of God, at least as far as I could see. A few verses later in Luke, Jesus says, "Woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation." The mystery just gets deeper. How can poor be blessed, and how can the rich be cursed? Last week, American Airlines CEO Doug Parker announced that the company would furlough around 19,000 employees come October when the CARES Act expires. American Airlines received about $6 billion, I think, in bailout money from the CARES Act. And so their plan is to fire or lay off, furlough, basically, folks in October after CARES runs out. This is the same Doug Parker, as CEO of American Airlines, who has cashed out around $200 million in stock-based compensation in the last 7 years. $200 million in stock-based compensation that the board of directors give to executives as part of their package. $200 million in 7 years. On the face of it, Though quite rich, Parker appears much more blessed than the poor folks who are getting laid off soon. He doesn't seem cursed to me, so I just don't get it. 2 of the 7 deadly sins are sloth and greed. I often encounter people who are very concerned about the sin of sloth. They seem to think that everything would be better economically in this country if only these people on welfare would work. The poor are poor because they don't want to work. That's the problem with this country. No handouts. And sometimes I can have those same feelings when I come upon an able-bodied fellow asking motorists for money at an intersection. Why can't this fellow work? Sloth. And yet Jesus, in all the Gospels, doesn't say anything about the sin of sloth, while he said a whole lot about the sin of greed. Ever since the 1980s, we've turned greed from a sin, something that we're all tempted by and that we have to struggle with this temptation. We've turned it into a virtue. No struggle necessary. Greed is good. Remember, Gordon Gekko said that in the 1980s movie Wall Street. We've been functioning under this assumption that greed is good, no struggle necessary, greed is not a sin, get as much as you can. Yet this is a radical departure from the standards of all the historic religious traditions, Christianity included. And I'm afraid that we have been and will be reaping the whirlwind of this change for some time to come. Have a blessed day.